I'm going to start off this shiur with I consider a fascinating machlokes. This machlokes was written about 110 years ago. That's my estimation. There are many Jews who Sefiras is a major happening. In other words, when they make the bracha, Sefiras is a special happening, and this happening, it's done with the Shem Yuchud and the Hini Muchan with a great amount of Hislavos. Okay, for those who are a little bit familiar, the Hini Muchan Kai Mitzvah Hashesh Kasu B'Torah Usfarta Lochem Imachas Hashabbos Sheva Shabbos Tamimas. Right? Okay, is that right?
You missed a few words.
Yeah, but what I said, is it right? That's what it says?
Yes. That's it.
But is that right, la halacha?
No.
Okay, we hold that it's the Rabbanon. So we hold that it's a Rabbanon, and we say that we are going to do a mitzvah d'oraisa. So the machlokes revolves about such a situation if a person is over on Bal Tosef, because you're making a Rabbanon into a d'oraisa.
Why isn't it a goraisa?
Yeah, no, that's true. That which the Torah says was a d'oraisa, and that was talking about Bisman Shebeis Hamikdash HaKayim. But today, right, that's not the situation. So today's Sefiras Omer, the haskama of most of the poskim, and that's the halacha, is that it's a d'rabbanan, which we're going to learn about halachas based on that today. How could you say that you're doing a mitzvah d'oraisa if you're doing a mitzvah d'rabbanan?
Well, the actual source of this mitzvah is in the Torah, and that's the only way we can apply it today.
I understood the first sentence and the second sentence. I didn't understand any connection between them.
Because it seems...
What about Hanukkah? If it wouldn't be that there was a Torah, we wouldn't be able to do Hanukkah either, right? Because it says that you have to listen to whatever Chazal tell us.
No, I mean it's different.
What about Yontif Sheni? Is Yontif Sheni a d'oraisa?
So that's Rabbanan.
Why? But if it wasn't that there was a mitzvah d'oraisa of Yontif Rishon, there would be no Yontif Sheni.
That's true. It still seems to me that Sefiras Omer is different because the actual showish of the mitzvah.
What about Yontif Sheni?
The showish is not written in the Torah. It's written
The shoresh of Yontif Sheni is written in the Torah of Yontif Rishon.
Maybe it's optimistic. We're ready to do the rice also.
Maybe, but what are you doing now? That's not what you're saying. What? Yeah. All right. So now the poskim have a very big machlokes on this issue. This is a machlokes here in Yerushalayim about 100 years ago, and very strong languages written on both sides by two colleagues on this subject. And there are some fascinating points that have to be understood in order to know what we're talking about. And I'm just mentioning this because I think this is an important question in Yiddishkeit altogether. You have to know what's going on. There's a yesod that mitzvahs tzrichas kavana. What does that mean? That when a person does a mitzvah, he has to have the intention of doing a mitzvah. And I'm going to say what I call the most outstanding example where this is not the common practice. Most people, their father, their mother tell them something and they do it. They do it because their father, mother asked them to do it. They love their parents and they do what they ask them to do. And not because they're thinking, so there is a fantastic machlokes achronim. Roiv achronim say that you're makayim the mitzvah d'oraisa anyways, because this which we say mitzvah tzrichas kavana is only said on mitzvahs ben adam lamakom. On mitzvahs ben adam l'chaveroi, you don't need kavana, and
So when people give me money and they say I'm becoming the mitzvah of paying someone on the day,
I want to say something about that particular example that you're giving. That particular example that you're giving, I don't think that it's inherent in paying up a choiv that when you pay it on the day that's what you're doing. So it could be that there's more of a reason there to say it. And I didn't say one couldn't say it, but just saying that this first you have to understand there's such a concept. Okay, now if a person does Bal Tosef without kavana, is he over on Bal Tosef? Why?
If you eat something straight without kavana.
No, but Bal Tosef means I'm saying that I'm adding on to that which it says in the Torah. If I tomorrow shake a lulav, am I over on Bal Tosef? Yeah, but tomorrow you're not even Bal Tosef. It's not you're not next to Sukkot, right? So you're not over on Bal Tosef. So if a person does something, and in order for him to be over on Bal Tosef, does Bal Tosef need to have kavana, or does
to know he's adding.
What?
He needs to know he's adding.
He needs to know that he's adding. Okay, so according to those who say, and there are those who want to say that, according to say, you think that it's a mitzvah d'oraisa. Maybe it's a mitzvah d'rabbanon. So we have a choice. We have to read your mind. We could say one or two things. Either you're a toya, you're making a mistake, or you're a moisef. No, what do we understand from the fellow who does this? In other words, how do we understand his saying this mitzvah d'rabbanan is a d'oraisa? You understand the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I going to say though, we just killed the mitzvah a week ago, eating matzah on Pesach.
Yeah.
We taught that's a mitzvah d'oraisa.
it is. That's the only mitzvah d'oraisa of eating.
Right, but the actual mitzvah is to eat the matzah with the korban Pesach.
No.
isn't it?
No. The Gemara says not like that. The Gemara says that the mitzvah of eating matzah is independently standing with the korban Pesach. It's true. It would be better, just like, it's better to eat meat with mustard. It'd be better to do this mitzvah with that mitzvah, but it stands alone. Okay? Not like Moror. That's what we spoke about the Shabbos HaGadol Drosha. Moror only midaraisa exists together with the korban Pesach, and today it's a d'rabbanan. However you makayim it. That's what was discussed then. But so this is the part of a beginning of a fascinating subject. How are so why do we say this if that's not the way that's not the way it come out la'alacha? And even if you say it, are you makayim the mitzvah? Because here's the other part of the question, which makes it even worse. Okay, I'm about to put on my tefillin shel yad, and I say hini muchar zum lakayim mitzvah shei lasim tefillin al harosh, and I put on my tefillin shel yad. What did I do? Nothing, right? Right? I did nothing. So if I had in mind to do a mitzvah d'oraisa and I did a mitzvah d'rabbanan, maybe I did nothing. You understand? In other words, this really has to be understood. What exactly the thought that Chazal had, being that we paskin that mitzvah Sefiras OMER is a d'rabbanan, why was it instituted that we use the lashon of the pasuk d'oraisa? And I don't know. There are those who would like to say something like was being said over here before, that really we're not saying we're doing a d'oraisa, we're only doing a d'rabbanan, but this d'rabbanan is cloned after a d'oraisa. And when we say we're doing a d'oraisa, we don't mean it. Which to me is a very not geschmack approach. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm mentioning this because this is a subject which has intrigued me for many years, and today I went through the sources again, so I thought that it's something that's worthwhile at least mentioning. We do this 49 times. We should at least understand what we're doing. Okay.
So the source of the Indian,
What?
when did it come into play?
I can't answer that question, but I can't be too old.
200 years, 400 years?
It's not 400 years old. How do I know that? Because the source of the big machlekes between the big Litvak and the big Chassid is less than 400 years old. There was the Ber Maim Chaim, the Sidur Shel Shabbos. He was very strong that you should say Hineni Muchaven and Hineni Muchar Mzuman. And the Noda B'Yehuda wrote a very strong tshuva against him. And the Ber Maim Chaim responded, and he fired off a tshuva back to the Noda B'Yehuda to explain why all the Noda B'Yehuda's tainas are irrelevant and a person should do it. And that machlekes itself is a fascinating machlekes. Their machlekes is basically what seems to me, I've read this many times, the Noda B'Yehuda says anything that you need to do is in the mitzvah already. Chazal did all the preparation, When I say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher gishanu mitzvah v'tzivanu la'aniach tefillin, could there be anything else that I need? If Chazal said make this bracha, and then you're good to go, So where do you come off adding things which Chazal said one doesn't need? And if you're adding things and you don't do it exactly right, then you're really in trouble. Okay, that's more or less the what the Noda B'Yehuda says, and the Ber Maim Chaim says, no, it's not true. Even if you add things and you really should be in trouble, you're okay. That's like a very chassidish, a square against a round. What? Right. No, it's his lashon in his tshuva is, if a person says instead of ahavtas Hashem Elokecha, he says va'ayavtas Hashem Elokecha, that I hate HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm fighting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're also Yaitza. Okay, so you can't get more diametrically opposed to the intended idea, and he says that that's also good. So this is I'm not going to get involved in that machlekes unto itself. That's a machlekes gedei olam. We'll leave it. But I can't believe this was around 100 years before that. Okay. Now, Belel Sheni Achet Filas Arbis Maschilin Lisvar HaOmer. Okay, we start the count to Omer. V'mshachach Lispor B'tchilas Halayla Hoylech V'Sefer Kol Halayla. A person who missed the beginning, you can continue counting the whole night. So now, if somebody was to ask you, when are you supposed to count Sefiras HaOmer? What's the answer? Why? No, you said 2 or 3 different reasons. I'm not sure that I agree with any of them. Okay. Now, any mitzvah that a person has, let's say Kriyas Shema or Tefillah, all of those have those reasons that you said. And we don't say about all of them, do it as soon as you can. Here, there's a special... What do we say? Yeah, but that's like an added plus. That's not a... If a person davens at 7 o'clock or at 7:30, I think here in Eretz Yisrael, I'm okay with those times, a whole year. You see, Mekayim Mitzvahs Kriyas Shema Bizmanoi, according to all Shitas, is he a good Jew? Yeah, right, but that's a grade above the halacha. Here, if a person doesn't count Sefira in the beginning of the night, he's missing something. Now here, what he's missing... Right, that's called the idea of Tmimus. Now this idea of Tmimus is something which, there's some years I understand it better than others. Today is a year that I'm not understanding it so well, and I'll share with you my difficulty. If the halacha is that, let's say, Aloisa Shachar is at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I count at 4:59, was I Makayim Tamimos?
No.
Yes.
You counted during the night still.
There's no difference
Yeah.
whether I counted at 4:59 or I counted at 11 o'clock. Is that true?
11 at night.
Right.
There is more to me. There is more complete. It's less complete.
And what about the
But-
person who davened at 9 o'clock?
So that sounds a bit like davening late. It's like a third thing, but maybe not the absolute requirement. But it sounds to me like it is, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so the answer to the question is that there's some degree of to have it as complete as you can. And this, I'll just start from the other end, where this is the, what I call the opposite of Timus. We don't make early Shabbos on Shavuos. Why?
You have to have a complete. The last day has to be complete.
Right. So, if you're going to make it the next day, so then it's not being complete. Now that is a difficulty unto itself, because taking in Shabbos or Yontif early doesn't change the calendar date, right? In other words, if I took in Shabbos early, let's say this week, what day Sefiras is it going to be this week? I know the answer to that question. It's the end of the week, right? So this is Shabbos is the 7th day, right?
Yep.
It has to be that way,
Sunday, Shabbat.
right? Okay, because Sunday is the 8th, right? So if I take in Shabbos early at 7 o'clock, can I count Sefira?
Supposed to wait till it gets dark.
Right.
In England, they don't do that.
I don't care what they do in England. I'm here. Okay?
Yeah. You won't get a minute to get it.
Okay.
You might forget, then you should count it.
What?
If you're likely to forget, then you doesn't in a minute, you should count it.
That's a question that I asked you. I don't even know if what you just said is exactly right. We're going to discuss that probably in a few weeks. Can I count Sefira on the wrong day?
Yes.
Can you?
Can I?
Not the wrong day.
Good, but
It's still shy, it's already.
No, that I didn't. It doesn't count,
it doesn't count. Correct.
right?
If it's unplugged.
If it's,
I mean, if I count 4
Yes.
right now,
yeah.
you're asking something like that, and it's
No,
dark,
if you
and
can
I
count
count a
early
completely
Shabbos. Is
random
it
number.
already Shabbos if you're
We're
counting before?
No, I was talking about it's the eve of, right? So when I'm counting Sefira, I'm saying what today is. Now, if it's not night, you can't say what the day is. Now, if you take in Shabbos early, did the calendar day change?
No.
Okay, so the calendar day didn't change, so then how could you count Sefira?
Halachically changed.
No.
I want to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question, and Shimon, I know you can answer this question. I was Makabel Shabbos early, and after I was Makabel Shabbos, someone came to shul and told me I have a medical emergency at home. I go home and I find out my wife had a baby. After I davened Ma'ariv, before Shkia, when does that baby have a bris?
No. I'm not. Baby was born on a Friday.
It's
Or
already
Sunday.
Shabbos.
No! Kiddush!
Baby's too young.
Okay. I didn't ask you when do you make a Shalom Zocher. That's a machlekes. What?
Bris after flag.
Make the bris after plug. Okay. You could make the bris after plug. You could do that. The answer is that the bris is on Friday. Okay. Okay. And now I'm going to tell you the Noid Yehuda asked this question, not me. And the Noid Yehuda's explanation is something fascinating. He says that there are two different things that happen with time. There are things that we're in charge of, and there are things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of. All things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of, it doesn't make a difference what we do with the day. The day stays like Hashem made it. The things that we are in charge of, we can change the day.
Bring Shabbos.
Shabbos you can be in charge of. When the baby's born, that's a a godly thing. And therefore, for the baby being born, it's called Friday. And for you, it's called Shabbos. Okay? A fascinating idea. And this is more than 400 years old. Okay? This is like 700 years old. Okay? That's what the Chuvas Hadeshin says.
So regards to counting Sefiras,
So according to the halacha, and maybe in like 3 or 4 weeks I may say something different, but according to Sefiras, you are not Yaitza Sefiras Omer. Not only that, I'm just going to tell you that the Shmuel HaKohen writes in Chuvas that if, and this happens in every shul in North America and every shul for sure in England, after Ma'ariv Friday night, the Gabbai says, and everybody don't forget to count Kriyas Omer, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so as soon as the Gabbai says that, and say Shema, right? That's what he says. And as soon as he says that, I say, oi, I forgot I didn't count Sefiras Omer yesterday. So Rabbi Shmuel HaKohen says you can count yesterday now.
It's still Friday.
It's still Friday. He has a long tshuva to substantiate this idea that it's, so if you can still count yesterday, today, if you'll start yesterday, tomorrow, so why should you have to count tomorrow, today, right? Okay, so you can't count Sefiras Omer.
I just don't understand how Rabbi Yehuda answers this thing about whatever Hashem did or whatever we do. I thought Sefiras Omer is something we do.
That's Chuvas Hadeshin.
I thought Sefiras Omer is something we do.
No, Sefiras Omer, you have to do it at night. Right?
David should try to
Yeah, right. That's not you. What he does say, if I'm not mistaken, in that tshuva, he says that if you made it already night, and one would write a get, the get would have to be written tomorrow's date, not today's date. It's because that you're
Depends on you.
right. That depends on you. All right. So this is it's Reish Mem Beis, if I'm not mistaken, the tshuva. Fascinating tshuva. All right. Anyways, so now I just wanted to say, so at the end of Sefira, so we don't cut the day short because we want to have Tmimus. That means we want to have as much of Sefira as we can counted. Now there are certain things that it makes a difference and certain things that it doesn't make a difference. Most things, I'm going to tell you my understanding of a rule. I am right now in the middle of eating, and someone comes by and says, Rabbi Zachariash, did you make a bracha on your food? And I say, oh, I forgot. So what do? I make a bracha now. Does my bracha that I make now help for that which I ate already? No. Is there a time where a person can make a bracha and it can help l'mafreya?
Yes.
No.
There is definitely something.
That's, first of all, that's maybe Tachidei Dibor, and then that's to be before the nigul. You're not finished. What?
The ladies already lit the candles, and she makes a bracha.
Kriyas Megillah.
Bracha goes on.
Discussed it, I think.
No. Kriyas Megillah, you make the bracha before, and afterwards the birchas hashvach. Okay, I will answer you where it seems to me quite clear that you can do this, and that's mitzvah yeshivas sukkah.
Tzitzis as well, yes?
I'm not sure about tzitzis. Now, tzitzis, I'll explain to you the difference between them. And I'm going to explain this to you, which I believe that what I'm saying is really true. If I was the one to write Shulchan Aruch, I would say, before you walk into your sukkah, you should make a leishev. I don't know anybody who does that. Anybody here know somebody who does that? Okay. Why don't we do that? Because we make a bracha when we eat. Now, I just want you to understand how strange it is what we do. If I go into my sukkah and I drink wine, do I have to make a leishev on that? No. So not only that, the yekes, there are many people that they make the leishev when they eat the bread, not by kiddush. We, the Shulchan Aruch people, we make the leishev by kiddush because the Suda needs Kiddush, so the Kiddush is called part of the Suda. But it's not because the cup of wine, you're not making the leishev on the cup of wine. You're making it on the Suda. Now, the halacha is, if I am going to sit in my sukkah and I'm not going to be eating anything, do I make a bracha? So right now, since it's not before Sukkot, I'll tell you, of course you do. Because a person has a mitzvah of yeshiva sukkah, and you're mekayim that even without eating, and therefore you should make a bracha. The minig is that many people don't make a bracha because we only make a bracha when we eat. But when we make a bracha when we eat, we're not only making it on the food, we're making it on the dwelling. Now, my dwelling is, this I understand, is one unit of dwelling from when I walked into the sukkah until I leave the sukkah. So as long as I make a bracha while I'm in that dwelling, the bracha goes lemafreya also. Doesn't only go from what I'm doing from now until the end of my dwelling. And therefore, one can make the leishev and it'll work for that which he did beforehand. Okay? This is a very important idea. So, in Sefiras HaOmer, the question is there such a thing as long as you got it in the unit, like Kriya Shema B'Zman, as long as you did it in the Zman, so it's all a Chatchila. So what does it mean to have Tmimus? Tmimus is some kind of an extra mila that you should have it as much of the day counted as you can. And therefore, we try to make it as early as possible. Okay? Kosov achron the omer marovis hashayach liyom sheni afilu chal hashmotz Shabbos afal pisha b'shari achagim shechal b'yom rishon Shabbos omer marovis yom rishon b'lel sheni shaniach the marovis u'me'inyan asfira. The marovis that said, anybody yekas over here who know what marovis are? Okay, well, that's extinct in this country. I don't think that it exists. Marovis are piyutim that are said by Ma'ariv. I think in Vermaisa and Mainz, this was
in Europe, but not that one.
Right. What? Well, did you say Brach Daidi this year? No. Okay, so you guys are not Jewish, right? You're missing out on all the important things. Okay. Okay, yeah. And those who didn't sing Temple Shira, all the important minhagim and Kal Yisrael. All right. In those Yekasha shuls.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. When do you do it? Kaida v'lein. The chomad efshel akdumi makdaminon kadeshis kaim yeser masha katzruv tmimus tiyena. We do it after Ma'ariv immediately, even before Aleinu, because we want it to be as early as possible. Now, I'm just going to mention something over here, which I mentioned in a Hilchos Tefillah Shiur. Is Aleinu part of davening?
Yes and no. It is. I mean, it's not part of our davening. Is it the original part of davening? No. What's added on? 2 parts.
Well,
1,000, whatever.
Ashrei and Avolotzion were also added on, right?
It's part of our siddur.
Yeah, I understand that this is something that we say, but is it part of davening? And there's a great machlokes on this issue, and I believe that what I'm going to tell you right now, this is not mine, I heard this from a very big Talmid Chacham in America once. There's a machlokes Ashkenaz and Sfard. When do you say Aleinu? In Ashkenaz you say Aleinu after Volotzion, and in Sfard you say it after everything. And the question is Aleinu a way that we transform from davening to our secular life, or is Aleinu part of the davening? And this is a machlokes on the different reasons that Aleinu is said, and this is why it seems to me the source of the different minhagim of when Aleinu is said.
What side?
What?
So what side? What's
We hold this part of davening.
We hold this part. Ashkenaz holds this part of davening. Okay, and I'll just share with you how much is it part of davening from the things that when I became a Rav here in this shul that I was stuck with litigating through, where this shul originally was Nusach Sfard, and then sometime before I came here it turned into Ashkenaz. Okay, now the people who ran the shul at that time didn't feel that they could make the jump to Ashkenaz, cold turkey. So there were some Nusach Sfard things that were left. In other words, I think it's only like 5 or 7 years ago that we switched, that we say the Slichas before Rosh Hashanah of Nusach Ashkenaz. There are different things that grandfather clauses to the original institution of the shul. One of the things which I left like Minhag Sfard is the Shir Shel Yom. The Shir Shel Yom in Ashkenaz is said after the Korban Musaf, and the Sfard it's said after Shachris.
That's not Minhag Agora.
What?
That's Minhag Agora.
That's, I think Mishnah Berurah also does it after after Musaf. Now, why did I leave it like Nusach Sfard? For a very simple reason. The Shir Shel Yom was said in the Beis Hamikdash when? At the Korban Tamid, not by the Korban Musaf. So therefore, I left it the way that it seems to me that it should be.
Everyone else.
I didn't say I can't understand how Ashkenaz switched it to Musaf, but here it seems to me that the Pashup shot is it should be after Shachris, and that's what it was already. So I left it where I felt that that's where it should be, and most of the other minhagim I think we already.
Can I ask something? Sfardim says first after Aleinu, right?
Sfardim
So Aleinu first and then
could be,
Sfardim?
could be.
Implies that Aleinu is part of davening. Whereas in the morning, Aleinu is right at the end.
No, that's why it's about to. Here, even Ashkenaz, that I said that we say that Aleinu is part of davening. A good Ashkenaz shul. Anybody here davened in a good Ashkenaz shul besides Shimon?
Depending what.
Okay, when is Havdalah said?
Oh.
Before Aleinu.
Aleinu, yep. Right. So Mara, yeah.
When do you light Hanukkah candles?
Before Aleinu.
Okay, so there are things that we insert into tefillah when it's.
Just not in Shachris, because that's not much complicated. So Mara.
Yeah, but we don't have, even though Aleinu is part of davening, but it's enough separate that you can still insert things beforehand. I'm just saying that's, this is, I have at home, here actually, I have it here in Beit Shemesh, a sefer, a beautiful sefer that was put out by somebody, still in the middle of being put out. It's called Mekairei HaTfilas. And I only have 2 volumes, there are already 3, and they should be finished with the 4th shortly. And it has all the tefillas that we say when they were instituted and why they're different minhagim. It's a fascinating sefer. Something I should lend to you one day that you would probably like to. It's a very nice sefer. All right.
When did Aleinu come into play?
Sure.
I don't remember if I checked it out there.
No, when did it come into the service? Not it was said originally for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
But when did it come into our
I think that by the time to the Goinim it was already there. The Goinim, I don't know if that's called so recent.
The Kohanim?
The Goinim, yeah.
I know where they are.
Okay, you think it was more recent? All right.
I think it's after the Rokeach.
After the Rokeach. That's pretty late. Okay. We'll have to check it out. Okay. Maschile Mispor. Now, Noshim va'avodim peturas b'mitzvah zu, da'av mitzvah say shazman grama. Women are potter and avodim are potter. Because of Rabbi Avrohom Miu kfar shavu alai choiva, and they become obligated in it. The minig where I live, this is the Mishnah Berurah says, is that women don't count. Because we say for Shulchan Shlomo, they'll make a mistake. Okay, I would just like to say a statement in favor of the women. I'm willing to say that women today are much better at counting Sefiras HaOmer than men. All the men here are shvacha Sefiras HaOmer counters. You just happen to go to shul for Ma'ariv, right? You don't count Sefira, you go to shul for Ma'ariv, and in shul they count Sefira, so you're stuck with it. Women, on the other hand, even for them to daven Ma'ariv is a feat, but to count Sefira is if you had a daven Ma'ariv at home, it's a much harder thing to do. But they do it. Nowadays, I would say that they're pretty proficient.
You don't dissuade the women from doing it because they don't, because possibility that they were not going to actually go through the 50 days?
You ask me, I don't dissuade them. My experience is that most women, most years, do the whole thing. And I'm willing to say that probably in this group, there's at least one person who didn't make it through Sefiras HaOmer 1 year.
Early Shabbos.
Right? Is that true?
Yeah, early Shabbos occasion.
Okay. I'll just tell you, I have a special exemption. The Rav Wosner has a fascinating tshuva about a Rav if he misses Sefiras HaOmer. So he's allowed to continue with the bracha even if he missed. I'm not saying that I missed, but I'm just saying that I have that. You would never know. Yeah.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah. All right. So this is what it says. As long as it's still night, you're in the unit that it's called to be mistihiyana. Okay? Lisbola atzmo. Now, this is a fascinating question. Yovel. Do you have to count Yovel? Who counts Yovel? Right? So, if I'm on Sanhedrin, I only know when I see in the newspaper that tomorrow's, Yovel, right? How would I know? Right? Okay. So if that's the case, maybe Sefiras HaOmer is the same thing. There's a Omer and Bezdin. Who brought the carbon Omer? The Kohanim, right? This isn't something that's not done by regular people like me. So let those who are in charge, let them deal with the issue. Why do I have to count for what they have to do?
But the Yovel was announced in the base pictures, wasn't it? It had a special chauffeur blast to announce each year that the Yovel, so everyone could know when he was. That's not true.
Well, it has nothing to do with the counting, because when it happened. So let's see what it says. Masha mitzvah kol yechad dihine masha mized the Sefira ena kamo shar mitzvah tluy ba'amira le'inyan kiddush havdalah v'imshava mechaver v'nischav v'latzis diyetz mishum d'shemei kohen the hocha gilsa third lo yotza akamadol sofer ba'atzmo. Here there are many achronim that say you're not yetza with shemei kohen. You have to actually say it. It's only on Bezdin. Then it says Safar Talacha. Elakoya Tzibor. I will be emes Shomei Chaver Shesafar v'nischav and Lotzes Skam Chavera Kiven Loitzio Yotza Kemo Bechol Mokom Dekaim Olon Shomei Koina. If you had a mind and he had a mind, you're Yotza. Bechol Zeh B'Sefira. Now this, I would just like to mention, this statement that the Mishnah Berurah said is not so clear to me. Because the Mishnah Berurah in other places says, by a mitzvah d'Rabbanon, you don't need das shomei umashmiya. As long as you heard it, it's good enough. He says it's totally, if you hold mitzvahs ein tzrichas kavana, and the mitzvahs d'Rabbanon we say mitzvahs ein tzrichas kavana, so therefore, you're yaitza shomei ka'oine, even if you didn't have it in mind. And I'll just share with you, for Ma'ariv, from a fascinating story that happened with me. I think like the second to the last year that my father was alive, I went to America to visit him, and he was by my sister for some simcha, and he ran the Shabbos table. And when he runs the Shabbos table, he says Kiddush, and he's made to all the people that are there, except for those who want to make Kiddush themselves. And my brother-in-law and his kids, they all make Kiddush by themselves, but I decided I'll be Yotze with him. I was sitting right next to him, and he made Kiddush, and I took the kais to pour it out, and he saw I was about to take some. And he says, I didn't have you in mind. So I said to him, who cares? Okay? So he said to me, what do you mean? So I told him that the Bir Halacha says that if you're already Yotze Kiddush D'Oraisa, which I was already Yotze according to many Rishonim in Shul, so now this Kiddush is only D'Rabbanon, so that it doesn't make a difference if he had me in mind. So afterwards, he said to me, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be Yotze with somebody else. Okay.